Hello, friend. Welcome to Midnight Christian Radio. Thank you for finding your way here tonight. I know it's late. I know you're tired. And I'm guessing there's something sitting heavy on your heart. Some old mistake. Some words you can't take back. Some moment you'd give anything to do over. We're going to talk about that. My name doesn't matter much. What matters is that I'm here, and you're here, and we're both awake when the rest of the world is sleeping. There's a lamp on my desk, small brass thing. Throws a soft circle of light that doesn't quite reach the corners. And outside, the street is empty. Has been for hours. It's the kind of night where old things come back. Memories you thought you'd put away. Faces you haven't seen in years. Words you said that you wish you hadn't. Moments when you were less than you wanted to be. Less than you should have been. And if you're here tonight because you can't stop thinking about your children, about the kind of father you were or weren't, about the things you said or didn't say, the patience you didn't have, the time you didn't give, then you're in the right place. I understand that weight. I've carried it myself for more years than I care to count. There's a particular kind of regret that comes with being a parent. It's different from other regrets, sharper somehow, because it involves someone you brought into this world, someone who depended on you completely, someone who trusted you when they were too small to know any better. And when you fail them, even in small ways, even in ways that seem insignificant at the time, it stays with you, sits in your chest like a stone, comes back to you in the deep hours of the night when there's nothing to keep it at bay. I know because I've been there. Still am there in some ways. My daughter is 51 now, lives 3 states away. We talk every Sunday morning. Have for years. The conversations are pleasant. Surface level mostly. How's the weather? How's work? Did you see that thing on the news? But there's a distance there. Not anger, not resentment, just distance. The kind that comes from years of small disappointments, small failures, small moments when I chose something else over her. I was not a terrible father. I need to say that first. I didn't drink, didn't hit, didn't abandon. I worked hard, provided, kept a roof over her head and food on the table. By the standards of my generation, I did what I was supposed to do. But I was not present the way she needed me to be. I was impatient, quick to anger, slow to listen. I cared more about being right than being kind, more about maintaining order than understanding what was happening in her small heart. And those failures, those small daily failures that seemed like nothing at the time, they built up. They created a distance that I didn't notice until it was too late to cross. She was 7 years old the first time I really saw it, was the distance, the wariness in her eyes when she looked at me. We were in the kitchen, evening. My wife was making dinner, and my daughter came in with a drawing. She'd been working on it all afternoon. Some elaborate thing with crayons, a house, a tree, a family. She was so proud of it. You could see it in the way she held it, the way she approached me, hopeful, wanting approval, wanting me to see what she'd made. I was reading the paper, half listening to the news on the radio, and thinking about something that had happened at work. Some problem I hadn't solved, some deadline I was worried about. She said, "Daddy, look what I made." I glanced up, barely looked at it. Said something like, "That's nice, honey. Now let me finish reading." And I went back to the paper. I didn't see her face fall, didn't see the light go out of her eyes, didn't see her walk away, carrying her drawing, the pride drained out of her. My wife saw it, told me about it later. All said, she worked on that for 2 hours. She just wanted you to look at it, really look at it. And I felt bad about it for maybe an hour. Told myself I'd do better next time, that I'd pay more attention, that I'd be more present. But I didn't. Next time came and I did the same thing. And the time after that. And the time after that. Small moments, insignificant on their own. But they accumulated. They built a wall between us, brick by brick, moment by moment, until one day she stopped bringing me her drawings, stopped asking me to look at things, stopped expecting anything from me except distance. And by the time I noticed, by the time I understood what I'd lost, she was grown, gone, living her own life, and the chance to do it differently had passed. That's what I carry. That's what keeps me awake some nights. Not one big terrible thing, but 1,000 small failures, 1,000 moments when I could have chosen love and chose something else instead. And the lamp flickers, steadies. I should get it fixed, but I haven't. There's something almost comforting about that flicker now. That moment of uncertainty before the light holds reminds me that things can falter and still continue, can weaken and still endure. You might be carrying something similar tonight. Maybe you yelled at your son when he spilled milk. Maybe you missed your daughter's recital because of work. Maybe you were too tired, too stressed, too caught up in your own problems to notice what they needed. Maybe you told them they were lazy, stupid, disappointing. Maybe you said things in anger that you can't take back, things that seemed justified at the moment but that you've regretted every day since. Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe you weren't there at all. Maybe you left. Maybe you chose something else, someone else, and your children grew up without you. Whatever it is, I need you to know something. You're not alone in it. You're not the only one who lies awake at night wishing you could go back, wishing you could be the father you should have been, the father they deserved. This weight you're carrying, it's real, it's valid, and it matters that you feel it. That says something about who you are now, about what you value now, about how you've grown. A man who feels no regret has learned nothing. A man who carries no shame has never looked honestly at himself. The fact that this hurts means you're awake, means you're aware, means you're not the same person who made those mistakes. That doesn't erase what happened, doesn't undo the damage, but it's something. It's a start. There was a man I worked with years ago. This would have been in the 80s. Name was Robert. Quiet man, kept to himself mostly. But we'd talk sometimes, during breaks, in the parking lot after work. He had 3 sons, grown by then, and he barely spoke to any of them. I didn't know why at first, didn't want to pry. But one evening, late, after everyone else had gone home, he told me. He said he'd been hard on them growing up, too hard. His own father had been a harsh man, believed in discipline, punishment, breaking a child's will before it got out of hand, and Robert had carried that forward. Thought that's what fathers did. Thought love was something you showed through toughness, through high standards, through never letting them think they were good enough. He said, I broke them. I see that now. I took 3 beautiful boys and I broke them trying to make them strong. His oldest hadn't spoken to him in 12 years. His middle son called once a year at Christmas. Obligatory, brief, His youngest lived an hour away, and they'd see each other maybe twice a year. Awkward dinners, long silences, nothing real between them. Robert said, "I thought I was doing right by them. I thought I was preparing them for the world, for how hard things are. But all I did was teach them that nothing they did was ever good enough, that I would never be proud of them. That love had to be earned, and they could never earn it." He had tears in his eyes when he said this man in his 60s, tough, weathered, crying in a parking lot because of what he'd done to his sons. I asked him if he'd ever told them, if he'd ever apologized, tried to explain. He said he'd tried, once, with his oldest, called him up, said he wanted to talk, and I wanted to say he was sorry, that he'd been wrong, that he wished he could do it over, and his son had listened, quiet. And when Robert finished, his son said, "I appreciate you saying that. I do. But it doesn't change anything. You can't give me back my childhood. You can't undo what you did." And then he'd hung up. And Robert never tried again. He said, "I carry that every day. Every single day. I wake up knowing I had 3 chances to get it right, and I failed all 3 times. And there's nothing I can do to fix it. I think about Robert sometimes. Wonder if he's still alive. He'd be in his 90s now if he is. Wonder if he ever found peace with it, ever found a way to forgive himself, even if his sons couldn't forgive him. I hope he did. But I don't know. What I do know is that his story isn't unique. It's not rare. There are thousands of men, maybe millions, carrying the same weight, the same regret, the same knowledge that they failed the people who needed them most. And the hard truth is that some damage can't be undone. Some words can't be taken back. Some relationships can't be repaired no matter how badly you want to repair them. That's a bitter pill. I know it is. We want to believe that it's never too late, that there's always a chance to make things right, that love and effort and sincerity can heal anything. But sometimes it is too late. Sometimes the distance is too great. Sometimes the hurt runs too deep, and you have to find a way to live with that, to carry that knowledge without letting it destroy you. The clock on the wall says it's nearly 3. I can hear it ticking, steady, relentless, marking time the way clocks do. Each second another moment you can't get back, another chance that's passed. But here's what I've learned in my 78 years. What I've had to learn because the alternative was despair. You can't change the past. You can't undo what's done. You can't be the father you should have been 30 years ago. That chance is gone. But you can be different now. You can be honest now. You can carry your regret without letting it define you. You can acknowledge what you did wrong without drowning in shame. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Not for your children. They get to decide what's enough for them. But for you, for your own soul, for your own peace. Because holding on to this regret forever doesn't help anyone. Punishing yourself endlessly doesn't undo the harm. Refusing to forgive yourself doesn't make you noble. It just makes you stuck. And God, if you believe in God, if you have any faith at all, doesn't want you stuck, doesn't want you drowning in shame, doesn't want you defined forever by your worst moments. There's a grace available, a forgiveness that doesn't depend on whether you deserve it, because none of us deserve it. None of us earn it. It's given freely, or it's not given at all. And I know that's hard to accept. I know it feels wrong somehow, feels too easy, Feels like you're getting away with something. But that's what grace is. Unearned, undeserved, given anyway. My daughter and I will never have the relationship we could have had. That door closed years ago. But we have the relationship we do have. Sunday morning phone calls, pleasant conversations, a kind of peace. It's not what I wanted, not what I hoped for, but it's something. And I've learned to be grateful for something instead of bitter about everything. She knows I'm sorry. I've told her. Not in some grand emotional scene, just quietly, over the years, in small ways. And she's acknowledged it. She doesn't throw it in my face, doesn't punish me with it. She's moved on with her life, made peace with having the father she had instead of the father she needed. And I'm grateful for that, for her grace, for her ability to let it be what it was and not let it poison what it is. That's all I can ask for. That's more than I deserve. The lamp burns steady now. The flicker has passed. And outside, the darkness is still complete. But there's a quality to it, a sense that it won't last forever. That morning is out there somewhere, coming whether we're ready or not. If you're sitting in your own darkness tonight, carrying your own regret about your children, I want you to hear this. What you did was real. The harm was real. The failure was real. Don't minimize it. Don't make excuses for it. Own it honestly. But don't let it be the only thing that's real. Don't let it be the totality of who you are. You were more than your worst moments. You are more than your biggest failures. You were a man doing the best you knew how with the tools you had. That doesn't excuse what you did wrong, but it explains it. It puts it in context. It makes it human instead of monstrous. And human failures can be forgiven. Human mistakes can be learned from. Human regrets can be carried without crushing you. You don't have to keep punishing yourself. You don't have to keep reopening the wound. You don't have to spend the rest of your life defined by what you did wrong instead of who you're trying to become. There's a way forward. It's not easy. It's not quick. But it's there. And it starts with this. With sitting in the dark. With acknowledging the weight. Heck, with being honest about what you carry. You're doing that right now. By being here. By listening. By not running from it. That's the first step. Maybe the hardest step. And I'm here with you. Not to fix it. Not to make it better. Just to sit with you while you carry it. To remind you that you're not alone in it. That others have walked this road. That morning comes even after the darkest nights. We'll keep talking. There's more to say. More to explore. More truth to face. And more grace to discover. But for now, just know this. You're heard. You're seen. And you're not alone. The night is long, but we'll make it through. Together. The air has shifted slightly. Not warmer, not colder, just different. The way it gets when you've been awake so long that your body stops fighting it, stops trying to sleep. Just accept that this is where you are, awake, alert, sitting with what needs to be sat with. I'm still here, still in this room with this lamp, still listening to the silence. The house has settled into its deepest quiet now. That particular stillness that comes around 3 or 4 in the morning when even the restless sounds have stopped. I was thinking about what I said before, about my daughter, about those small failures that accumulated into distance. And I was thinking about how easy it is to justify those failures when you're in them, how reasonable they seem at the time. I was tired. I was working. I was stressed. I had other things on my mind. She was being difficult. She needed to learn. I was doing my best. All of that was true, and none of it excuses what I did. Both things can be true at once. That's something I've had to learn, that you can understand why you did something without excusing it. You can have compassion for yourself without letting yourself off the hook. You can acknowledge that you were doing your best, while also acknowledging that your best wasn't good enough. It's a difficult balance. It takes years to find it, maybe a lifetime. When my daughter was 12, we had a fight. I don't even remember what it was about. Something small, probably. Something that seemed important at the time and means nothing now. The kind of thing parents and children fight about when the child is becoming a person and the parent doesn't know how to handle it. She said something, I said something back, voices raised. And then she said something that cut, something sharp, something designed to hurt. I don't remember her words exactly, but I remember the feeling, that flash of anger, that impulse to hurt back, to put her in her place, to remind her who was in charge. And I said, "You're being just like your mother." My wife and I had been fighting a lot that year, going through a rough patch, the kind that happens in marriages, the kind you either work through or you don't. We worked through it eventually, but at the time it was bad, tense, cold, and saying that to my daughter, comparing her to her mother in that moment, in that tone, it was cruel. It was designed to wound, to diminish, to make her feel small, and it worked. I saw it on her face, saw the hurt, saw her close up, saw something break. She didn't say anything, just looked at me. And then she turned and went to her room, closed the door, didn't come out for the rest of the night. I knew immediately that I'd crossed a line, knew I'd said something I shouldn't have. But I didn't apologize, didn't go to her room, didn't try to make it right. I told myself she needed to cool off, that we both did, that we'd talk in the morning when emotions weren't so high. But morning came and I didn't say anything, and she didn't say anything, and the moment passed, and we went back to our lives, and that wound just sat there, unaddressed, unhealed. I think about that moment a lot, more than I probably should, because it was such a small thing in the grand scheme. One sentence, one moment of anger, one failure among many, but it mattered. It changed something between us, added another brick to the wall, another reason for her to be careful around me, another piece of evidence that I couldn't be trusted with her tender places, and I never apologized for it, never brought it up, never said, "I was wrong, I was cruel, I'm sorry." I told myself she probably didn't even remember it, that it had faded for her the way small moments fade, that bringing it up would just resurrect something dead. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know what she remembers, what she carries, what moments shaped her understanding of who I was, who she could trust, what love looked like. I only know what I carry, and I carry that moment, that sentence, that look on her face. The lamp hums softly. There's a moth somewhere in the room. I can hear it bumping against things, searching for light, drawn to something it can't fully reach. I know that feeling. There's a particular loneliness that comes with regret. It's not the same as other kinds of loneliness. It's more isolating somehow, because it's self-inflicted, because you can't blame anyone else, because the company you're stuck with is yourself and the knowledge of what you've done. Other people can't really help with it either. They can listen. They can sympathize. They can tell you it's okay, that you did your best, that everyone makes mistakes. But they weren't there. They don't carry what you carry. They don't know the specific weight of your specific failures. Only you know that. Only you live with that. And God, if you believe in God, can offer forgiveness, can offer grace, can wash away sin and make you clean. But even that doesn't erase the memory, doesn't undo what was done, doesn't give you back the moments you lost. You still have to live with the knowing, the remembering, the weight of it. That's the part they don't tell you about grace. It's real, it's available, it's freely given, but it doesn't make you forget, doesn't make the regret disappear, doesn't erase the consequences. It just gives you a way to carry it, a framework for living with it, a reason to keep going despite it, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all we can ask for. I had a friend once, long time ago, a man named Thomas. We worked together for years, lost touch after I changed jobs. But we were close for a while. The kind of friendship where you talk about real things, where you don't just keep it surface. Thomas had a son, only child, boy named Marcus. And Thomas loved that boy more than anything. You could see it, the way he talked about him, the pride in his voice, the plans he had for him. But Thomas was hard on him too, had high expectations, wanted Marcus to be successful, to have opportunities Thomas never had, to make something of himself. So he pushed hard, sports, school, activities, every moment accounted for, every achievement measured, every failure analyzed. Marcus was a good kid, smart, talented, but he was also anxious, sensitive, the kind of child who needed encouragement more than pressure, who needed to know he was loved for who he was, not for what he achieved. But Thomas didn't see that, or maybe he saw it and thought he could fix it, thought he could make Marcus tougher, more resilient, better able to handle the world. When Marcus was 16, he tried to kill himself, took pills. Thomas found him in time, rushed him to the hospital. They saved him, pumped his stomach, kept him for observation. They sent him home with a therapist and a prescription. Thomas told me about it a few weeks later. We were sitting in his car, parking lot, late evening. He just broke down, sobbed, said he didn't understand. Said Marcus had everything, every advantage, every opportunity. Why would he do that? What was missing? And I didn't know what to say. Didn't have answers. Just sat with him while he cried. Marcus got better, went to therapy, went to college, became a teacher, got married, had kids of his own. But the relationship with Thomas never fully recovered. There was always a distance, a carefulness. Marcus would come home for holidays, be polite, be present, but never fully open, never fully trusting. And Thomas carried that. The knowledge that his love, his good intentions, his desire to give his son a better life had somehow contributed to his son wanting to end his life. He never said it directly, but I could see it in the way he talked about Marcus, in the way he second-guessed everything he'd done, in the way he couldn't quite forgive himself. Last I heard, Thomas was still alive, in his 80s now, still carrying that weight, still wondering what he could have done differently, still wishing he could go back and be gentler, more patient, more attuned to who his son actually was instead of who Thomas wanted him to be. I think about Thomas when I think about my own failures as a father, because at least my failures were small, distant, Cold maybe, but not crushing, not life-threatening. But then I think, who knows? Who knows what accumulates in a child's heart? What small wounds compound into larger pain? What distance creates what kind of damage? I don't know what my daughter carries, what moments shaped her, what I did that hurt more than I knew. And I'll probably never know, because we don't talk about it, because the distance between us is comfortable now, familiar. Neither of us wants to disturb it, and maybe that's okay. Maybe not everything needs to be excavated. Maybe some wounds heal better when left alone. Or maybe that's just what I tell myself. Maybe it's cowardice dressed up as wisdom. Maybe I'm protecting myself more than I'm protecting her. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The clock ticks. The moth bumps against the ceiling. The lamp burns steady. Outside, a car passes. First one in over an hour. Headlights sweep across the window. Then gone. And the darkness settles back. And there's a verse I've been thinking about from the Psalms. David writing about his own failures, his own regrets, his own desperate need for forgiveness. He says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me. Not fix what I've broken. Not undo what I've done. Not erase what I've caused. Just create something new, something clean, something right. Because the old heart is too damaged, too stained, too bent by what it's done and what's been done to it. The only way forward is through newness, through recreation, through becoming something other than what you were. And that takes time, takes honesty, takes a willingness to look at yourself clearly, to see what you've done, to own it, to carry it, to let it change you into someone who wouldn't do it again. That's repentance, real repentance. Not just feeling bad, not just saying sorry, but actually changing, actually becoming different. And it's hard, harder than anything, because it means letting go of the stories you've told yourself, the justifications, the excuses, the reasons why what you did made sense at the time. It means standing naked in front of the truth, admitting that you failed, that you hurt people, that you were less than you should have been, and then somehow finding a way to forgive yourself, to accept grace, to believe that you're more than your worst moments, that you can be remade, that a clean heart is possible even for you. I'm still working on that, still trying to believe it, still trying to let go of the weight while also honoring what it represents. The people I hurt, the moments I failed, the father I wasn't. It's a balance, maybe an impossible balance, but I keep trying to find it, because the alternative is despair, and despair helps no one. Despair is just selfishness in another form. Just another way of making it about you instead of about the people you hurt and how you can honor them now by being better now. My daughter doesn't need me to flagellate myself, doesn't need me to carry shame forever. What she needs, what she's always needed, is for me to see her, to hear her, to be present when she needs presence. And I can do that now. Can't do it perfectly. Can't make up for when I didn't do it. But I can do it now. And maybe that's enough. Not for the past, but for the present, for what remains. The night is thinning slightly, not lightening yet, but losing some of its density, some of its weight, that subtle shift that comes before dawn, when darkness stops being absolute and starts becoming negotiable. I've sat through enough nights to recognize it. That moment when you know you've made it through the worst, when morning becomes a promise instead of just a hope. If you're still here, still listening, still carrying your own regret about your children, I want you to know something. You can't fix what you broke, can't undo what you did, can't be who you should have been. But you can be who you are now, can be present now, can be honest now, can acknowledge what you did wrong and commit to doing better with whatever time remains. That won't erase the past, won't heal all wounds, won't restore what was lost. But it's something. It's movement. It's life instead of death. Now growth instead of stagnation. And it's available to you right now, in this moment. Not because you've earned it, not because you deserve it, but because grace is given freely, or it's not grace at all. You're allowed to forgive yourself. You're allowed to accept that you failed and still believe you have value. You're allowed to carry regret without letting it define you. You're allowed to be human, flawed, broken, and still loved, still worthy, still capable of change. That's the message. That's the hope. That's what I'm holding on to in the darkness, and I hope you can hold on to it too. We're not done yet. There's more to say, more to explore, more grace to discover. But for now, rest in this. You're heard. You're seen. You're not alone. And morning is coming. There's a heaviness to this hour, the kind that settles in your bones, makes everything feel slower, thicker, like you're moving through water instead of air. 4 in the morning now, maybe closer to 5. Hard to say. Time moves strangely in the deep night, sometimes fast, sometimes impossibly slow. I'm still here, still awake, still sitting with this lamp and these thoughts, and the weight of everything I've carried for so long. Been thinking about something my wife used to say. She'd say, "You can't carry someone else's pain for them. You can only carry your own, and even that's heavy enough." She was right about that. She was right about most things. When she was alive, she'd sometimes find me like this, awake, sitting in the dark, thinking about my daughter, about the distance between us, about what I'd done wrong, and she'd say, "You've apologized. You've changed. You've done what you can do. At some point, you have to let it rest." But I couldn't, can't. Don't know how, because letting it rest feels like minimizing it, like saying it didn't matter, like letting myself off the hook, and I don't want to be let off the hook. Don't feel like I deserve to be. But my wife would say, it's not about what you deserve. It's about what serves you, what serves your daughter. And carrying this shame forever serves no one. She had a way of cutting through things, getting to the heart, the seeing past the drama and the guilt and the self-punishment to what was actually true. What was actually true was that I was using guilt as a shield, using shame as a way to avoid having to actually change. As long as I felt bad enough, I didn't have to do the harder work of being different. That's a hard thing to see about yourself, that your guilt is performative, that your regret is self-indulgent, that you're more interested in punishing yourself than in actually making amends. But it was true, at least partially true, at least true enough to matter. I was so busy feeling bad about being a distant father that I stayed distant. So busy regretting my impatience that I never learned patience. So busy wishing I'd been different that I never actually became different. And my wife saw that, called me on it, gently, kindly, but firmly. She said, "Your daughter doesn't need your guilt. She needs your presence. She needs you to show up now, to be available now, to do better now." And I tried. I did. Started trying to be more present. more patient, more attentive to who my daughter actually was instead of who I wanted her to be. But by then the patterns were set. The distance was established. My daughter had learned not to need me, not to expect much from me, not to bring me her tender places, and changing that, reversing that, it takes time, takes consistency, takes showing up again and again and again, even when you're not sure it matters, even when the response is minimal, even when the distance feels permanent. I'm still working on it, still trying, still showing up even when it feels pointless, because that's what love is. Not the feeling, not the sentiment, but the showing up, the consistency, the being there even when it's hard, even when it's awkward, even when you're not sure it makes any difference. That's what I should have known when she was young, when it was still easy, when she still wanted me to show up, but I didn't know it then. Thought love was providing, protecting, maintaining order, setting boundaries, teaching lessons, and those things are part of it. But they're not the heart of it. The heart of it is presence, attention, seeing the other person clearly, letting them be who they are, making space for them. I didn't know that, had to learn it the hard way. After it was too late to apply it the way it should have been applied, there was a man I knew, different friend, different time. His name was Joe. He had 4 children, all girls, and he adored them. You could see it, the way he talked about them, the way his face lit up when they were mentioned. But Joe traveled a lot for work, sales job, on the road 3 weeks out of 4. And when he was home, he was tired, checked out, recovering from being gone so he could leave again. His wife raised those girls essentially alone, did everything, school, activities, doctors, problems, all of it. Joe was more like a visiting uncle than a father, present occasionally, friendly when he was around, but not really part of the daily fabric of their lives. And he told himself it was okay, that he was providing, that his job made their comfortable life possible, that they understood, that they were fine, but they weren't fine. Or maybe they were fine, but they weren't close, weren't connected to him in any deep way. When they grew up, they all moved away, far away, different states, different lives. And they didn't come home much, didn't call much, didn't include Joe in their lives in any meaningful way. And Joe was hurt by it, confused by it. He'd say, I gave them everything. I worked hard for them. Why don't they want to be around me? And someone finally told him. One of his daughters, the oldest. She said, we don't know you. You were never there. You were a stranger who lived in our house sometimes. And we're polite to strangers, but we don't build our lives around them. It devastated him. He thought he was doing right by them, thought his sacrifice mattered, thought providing was the same as loving, but it wasn't. Not to them, not in the way that mattered. Last I heard, Joe was trying to rebuild, trying to create relationships with his daughters, with his grandchildren, trying to be present now even though he wasn't present then. And some of them were receptive. Some of them gave him another chance, let him be part of their lives in small ways. But some of them didn't. Some of them had moved on, had decided they didn't need a father, had built lives without him and didn't see a reason to include him now. And Joe had to live with that, had to accept that some doors had closed, some chances had passed, some relationships were gone and weren't coming back. That's a hard thing to accept, that you can want something, want it desperately, and not be able to have it. not because of circumstances beyond your control, but because of choices you made, actions you took, ways you failed. You want to believe there's always time, always another chance, always a way to make it right. But sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the damage is done and can't be undone. Sometimes people move on and don't look back. Sometimes you're left with regret and no way to resolve it. And you have to find a way to live with that, to carry that knowledge without letting it poison everything else. Now, to accept that you failed without letting that failure be the sum of who you are. I don't know how to do that perfectly. Don't know if anyone does. But I know you can't do it alone. Can't white-knuckle your way through it. Can't just decide to feel differently and have it be so. You need help, need grace, need something outside yourself to hold on to. For me, that's faith. Imperfect faith. Doubt-filled faith. But faith nonetheless. The belief that I'm more than my worst moments. That I'm seen by something larger than myself. That there's a love that doesn't depend on my performance. That accepts me as I am, while also calling me to become something better. I don't always feel that. Don't always believe it. Some days it feels true, and some days it feels like wishful thinking. But I hold on to it anyway, because the alternative is despair, and despair is a kind of death, and I'm not ready to die yet, not in that way. The lamp is steady now, no flicker, just solid light. Warm, constant, like it's settled into its purpose, like it knows what it's meant to do and is content to do it. I envy that sometimes, that simplicity, that clarity of purpose. But we're not lamps, we're people, complicated, contradictory, capable of great love and great harm, often at the same time, often to the same people. And we have to live with that complexity. Can't simplify ourselves into easy categories. Can't be just good or just bad, just victim or just villain. We're both. We're all of it. We're the father who failed and the father who tried. The man who was impatient and the man who wishes he'd been kinder. The person who did damage and the person who wants to make amends. All of it is true. All of it matters. All of it is part of who we are. And forgiveness, real forgiveness, has to account for all of it. Has to see clearly what was done, while also seeing clearly who did it. Has to hold both the harm and the humanity. That's hard, maybe the hardest thing, because we want to split it. Want to say, I was terrible then, but I'm good now. I did bad things, but I'm not a bad person. But it's not that clean. It's never that clean. You were who you were. You did what you did. And that person, that version of you, was still you. Not some other self you can disown. Not some temporary aberration. You. And you have to own that. Have to claim it. Have to say, yes, I did that. I was that. And I'm sorry. And I'm different now. And both things are true. That's integrity. That's honesty. That's the foundation of real change. Not denying who you were, but not being defined by it either. Acknowledging it while also moving beyond it. My daughter knows who I was, knows the father she had, knows the failures, knows the distance, and she's made peace with it in her own way. Not because I deserve peace, but because she deserves peace. Because carrying anger and hurt forever serves no one. Because she has her own life to live and can't spend it stuck in the past. I'm grateful for that. For her ability to let it be what it was. To accept me as I am now instead of punishing me for who I was then. That's grace. Her grace. Given to me not because I earned it, but because she chose to give it. And I'm trying to extend that same grace to myself, trying to accept that I was flawed and still am, that I failed and might fail again, but that I'm trying, that I'm different, that I'm doing better. It's a daily practice, daily decision, daily choice to forgive myself for yesterday while committing to do better today. Some days it works. Some days I believe it. Some days I feel lighter, freer, more at peace. And some days I don't. Some days the weight comes back, the regret, the shame, the knowledge of what I did and can't undo. But those days pass. They always do. And the light comes back, the grace, the possibility. That's what I'm learning, that it's not linear. Not a straight line from guilt to freedom, more like a spiral, coming back to the same places, the same questions, the same struggles, but each time from a slightly different angle, with slightly more wisdom, slightly more compassion, slowly becoming someone who can carry this without being crushed by it, who can acknowledge the harm without being defined by it, who can live with regret while also living with hope. That's all I can ask for. All any of us can ask for. The darkness outside is definitely changing now. Not light yet, but thinner, grayer. The black becoming charcoal, becoming ash. Morning is close. You can feel it. That shift in the air, that sense of possibility, that promise that the night, as long as it's been, is ending. And we made it through. We're still here, still breathing, still carrying what we carry, but still here. That counts for something. That's worth something. You're worth something, even with your regrets, even with your failures, even with everything you wish you'd done differently. You're still here, still trying, still hoping for something better. And that's enough. That has to be enough. Because it's all we have, this moment, this breath, this choice to keep going. And we're making it, together, in the darkness, waiting for the light. The gray is turning to silver now. That particular quality of pre-dawn light, when the world is colorless but no longer dark, when you can start to see shapes, distinguish objects, remember what things look like in the light. I'm still here, still awake, still sitting with this lamp that's been burning all night, faithful, constant, a small, steady light in the long darkness. Been thinking about my daughter, about that phone call we'll have tomorrow, Sunday morning, 10 o'clock her time, noon mine. We'll talk about the weather, about what she's planning for the week, about my health, about nothing in particular and everything at once. And it'll be good. Not perfect, not deep, but good, real, present. That's what we have now. That's what we've built after years of distance and slow reconciliation. Not the relationship we could have had, but the relationship we do have. And I'm grateful for it, truly grateful. Because it could have been nothing, could have been silence, could have been estrangement. But it's not. It's something. It's connection. It's love expressed in the way we can express it, in the way that works for both of us. She doesn't need me to be perfect, doesn't need me to have been perfect. She just needs me to be present, to be honest, to be trying. And I can do that. I am doing that. Will keep doing that for as long as I'm able. That's the gift of time, of age, of having lived long enough to understand what actually matters. It's not the grand gestures, not the perfect moments, not the flawless parenting. It's the small, consistent things, the showing up, the being available, the willingness to keep trying even when you're not sure it makes a difference. That's love. That's what love actually looks like in the living of it. And I wish I'd known that when she was young, when it would have been easier, when she still expected it from me, but I didn't. Had to learn it the hard way, through loss, through regret, through years of living with the consequences of my failures. And now I know it. Now I practice it. Now I show up in the small ways I couldn't show up in the big ways. And it's enough. Has to be enough. Because it's what I have to give. There was a moment last year. We were on the phone. Sunday call. And she was telling me about something that had happened at work. Some conflict with a colleague. Some situation that was bothering her. And I listened. Really listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't offer solutions. Didn't try to fix it or minimize it or tell her what she should do. Just listened. Let her talk. Let her process. Let her feel heard. And when she was done, there was a pause. And then she said, "Thanks, Dad. I needed that." And something shifted. Some small thing. Some tiny movement toward each other. It wasn't dramatic. Wasn't a big emotional breakthrough. Just a moment of connection. A moment of being what she needed in that moment. But it mattered. I could feel it matter. Could feel something old and tight loosen just slightly. And I thought, this is what it looks like. This is what I should have been doing all along. Being present, being available, being a safe place to land, not controlling, not correcting, not constantly disappointed, just present, just there, just willing to listen without judgment. That's what I'm learning to do, what I'm trying to become, a father who listens instead of lectures, who accepts instead of demands, who makes space instead of taking up all the space. It's hard, goes against my instincts, against everything I learned from my own father. But I'm doing it, slowly, imperfectly, but doing it, and it's changing things, not erasing the past, not undoing the damage, but creating something new, something small and fragile but real. A relationship based on who we are now instead of who we were then, based on what's possible instead of what's lost. That's grace in action. That's what forgiveness looks like when it's lived out. Not a single moment of absolution, but a daily practice of choosing connection over resentment, presence over punishment, hope over despair. I don't know if my daughter has forgiven me, not fully, maybe not even partially. Maybe she's just moved on, made peace with having the father she had and building a life that doesn't depend on having the father she needed. And that's okay. That's her right, her choice, her path to walk. My job isn't to earn her forgiveness. Can't be earned anyway. Either it's given freely or it's not given at all. My job is to be who I am now, to show up now, to do better now, to honor what was by being different now. And I'm doing that as best I can, with whatever time I have left. The lamp has burned all night, never went out, never stopped giving light, just kept doing what it was made to do. That's all any of us can do. Keep showing up. Keep giving what we have to give. Keep being a light in whatever darkness we find ourselves in. Not because it fixes everything, not because it erases the past, but because it's what we have. It's what we can control. It's how we participate in our own redemption. And redemption is available. I believe that. Have to believe that. Because without it, what's the point? What's the reason to keep going? To keep trying? To keep hoping for something better? There's a verse I come back to from Isaiah, an Old Testament prophet talking about God's promises. He says, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? A new thing. not a fixed old thing, not a restored past thing, a new thing, something that didn't exist before, something that couldn't exist until the old thing died, until the old self was left behind, until the old patterns were broken, a new thing, springing forth, growing, becoming, even in the ruins of what was. That's the hope. That's the promise. That's what I'm reaching for in the darkness. Not to undo what I did, not to become who I should have been, but to become something new, something that honors the past by being different in the present. A father who listens, who's patient, who makes space, who shows up. Not the father I was, but the father I am, the father I'm becoming. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all God asks, all grace requires, all love demands. Not perfection, not flawlessness, not undoing the harm, just movement, just growth, just a willingness to be different, to try, to keep showing up even when it's hard. I'm 78 years old, don't have many years left, don't have time to waste on shame and regret and endless self-punishment. What I have time for is love, is presence, is connection in whatever form it can take. And that's what I'm choosing, what I'm committing to, what I'm doing with whatever time remains. Not because I've figured it all out, not because I'm healed or whole or past it, but because it's the only way forward, the only path that leads anywhere worth going. And I'm taking it, one step at a time, one phone call at a time, one moment of presence at a time, building something new on the foundation of what was, not denying the past, but not being imprisoned by it either, moving forward, slowly, carefully, with hope. The window is lighter now, definitely lighter. The shapes outside are visible, trees, houses, the street. Morning is here, almost here, that moment when night releases its hold and day begins. I've sat through another night, carried another load, faced another round of regret and shame and the slow work of forgiveness. And I'm still here, still breathing, still holding on to hope. If you're still here too, still listening, still carrying your own regret about your children, I want to leave you with this. You can't change what you did, can't undo the harm, can't be who you should have been. But you can be different now. Can choose differently now. Can show up now in the ways you didn't show up then. And that matters. That counts. That's how you honor the past, not by erasing it, but by learning from it, by becoming someone who wouldn't make those same mistakes again. Your children may not forgive you, may not want a relationship with you, may have moved on without you. And that's their right, their choice, their path. But you can still change, still grow, still become someone who carries regret without being destroyed by it, who acknowledges harm without being defined by it. That's available to you right now, in this moment, not because you've earned it, but because grace is given freely, because God's love doesn't depend on your performance, because you're more than your worst moments. You're a human being, flawed, broken, capable of great harm and great love, often at the same time, and you're allowed to forgive yourself, allowed to accept grace, allowed to believe that you can be different, that you are different. That's not letting yourself off the hook. That's taking responsibility for becoming better, for doing better, for being better with whatever time you have left. And you can start right now, right here, in this moment, by choosing to believe that you're worth redeeming, that your life still has value, that there's still time to do some good, to be some good, to make some small difference. You don't have to carry this alone. Don't have to figure it out by yourself. Don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up. Keep trying. Keep choosing love over shame, connection over isolation, hope over despair. And you're doing that right now. By being here, by listening, by not giving up. That's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. The lamp is still burning. The morning is coming. The darkness is ending. And you made it through. We made it through. Together. In the silence. In the struggle. In the slow, difficult work of forgiveness. And tomorrow night, if you need this again, I'll be here. Same lamp, same room, same voice. Because we're not done yet. None of us are. We're all still becoming, still growing, still learning how to carry what we carry without being crushed by it. And we do that together, not alone, not isolated, but together, in the darkness, in the light, in all the spaces between. You're not alone. You're seen. You're heard. You're valued. And morning is here. The night is over. A new day is beginning. And with it, a new chance, a new choice, a new opportunity to be different, to do better, to love better. Take it. Please, take it. You're worth it. You always were, and you always will be.